With Evil Dead Rise coming out, I decided, hey, Sean Marcus hasn't seen any of the Evil Dead movies. It's time to get him schooled on some of the best horror movies in the world. So I forced Sean Marcus to watch all 3 Evil Dead 1, 2, and Army of Darkness.
We're also going to do a reaction video to the trailer because neither of us have seen it yet. So stay tuned.
So we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with, of course, the classic, the first Evil Dead. We aren't going with any remakes on this episode. It's just the classic Bruce Campbell movies here that I personally love.
Yeah, and we're not even going to bother with a whole recap on these videos because we know the people that are watching this video have seen these movies a million times. It's my version of Dumb and Dumber, so I can ramble that thing off front and back.
Large cult following, I would say, that just somehow took off, especially after you watch this first one. You're like, man, some of the acting is kind of terrible. How did this even happen?
Yeah.
But I mean, I personally, out of all 3 of the movies, I rewatched them all again. I personally loved the first one. It just felt like the story fit better for me because Evil Dead 2 ended up throwing me off a little bit when it came out. But what did you think about the first one? Like, I was a little worried you weren't even going to get through it, honestly.
I will say this. They are straight garbage, but in a good way. They're supposed to be. And that's what makes them good. Like, I'm not going to watch these again, but I appreciate and respect them for what they are. And that's trashy horror slasher film with lots of blood and gore and, you know,
a lot
dark
of blood
humor.
and gore, man.
Yeah, and that's what makes them fun to those people that appreciate and love those movies. They changed the game. They brought slasher horror to like the forefront. And I mean, I remember as a kid walking into the movie theater, not in the movie theater, sorry, the movie video rental place, and just seeing like Evil Dead 2 boxes, like boom, it's like all over. And I'm like, and I was like curious, but like I was too young to watch those. I didn't have your grandmother, so I didn't get to watch those.
There we go.
The writing is bad. The acting is bad. The special effects are bad. Everything about it is bad, but that makes it great. And I enjoyed it. I was laughing. I was having a good time. My wife was like, "This is garbage." I'm like, "Yeah, I know."
You're like, it's another one of Austin's picks, like, and he's forcing me to watch it.
But like I said, I can respect the arts that, I mean, they had a lot of great camera angles. I mean, I forget what kind of camera they were using, but I kind of looked up some details, and they were using some lightweight, smaller cameras so they could get in behind these angles. They can shoot up through, you know, the floorboards and like, you know, all this stuff that you probably couldn't do before. And it made for some great cinematography.
Yeah, they were saying that they had such a low budget that like if they needed the camera to go through a window, they just slam the camera through a window with a guy with like a 2x4 breaking the window above it just to make the shot happen, because if you couldn't tell when you watched it, it's super low budget, but it's amazing for what it is. And I want to say it was like Bruce Campbell's like first acting debut, no. But right? You couldn't tell at all.
Yeah, he's just become such an icon because of these movies, and it's fun to see someone like that. You could tell he's got a good sense of humor, and you know, just a likable, lovable guy. So I'm glad he found his place in the world.
Yeah. The first one for me, I felt like the story was like really more polished. Like, you know, you have the friends going to a cabin, kind of like the equivalent of the new Airbnb, and it's just really dirty and gross, and you're just like, what did we get into? And
One star
of course,
review.
like, you guys
would not recommend.
Yeah, and then of course you got the old school tape player doing this whole chant thing, which, you know, makes a bunch of craziness happen. And one of the iconic things though is that camera, like you were talking about, just going through the woods, and you can just feel that presence of that, just like like blasting through the windows and like getting really close and then like backing off. There was like a really cool aspect of that. And I just loved the pacing of the first one. And then when I got into the second one, I didn't realize that the second one was kind of a remake for the whole crew. Like they didn't have the budget that they wanted in the first one. So they're like, well, let's kind of do like a remake, but go even crazier with all the practical effects and stuff. It's like they pulled every practical effect that they had just laying around and threw it all into one movie, which was pretty crazy.
But I'm with you. I feel like they should have kept the story the same. Like it was simple and pure, if you want to say that. And then the second one, the remake, like I said, I didn't think it was as good. It was more gore and all this stuff. Like, yeah, the story didn't quite make enough sense to me, I think.
When I first watched the second one, I was like, why in the hell would he go back to the same cabin with some other chick and then all this stuff starts happening again? It's like, you're an idiot, like if you went back.
I remember being here once before. I'm having deja vu. You're not going to die, are you?
What's this book?
I'm not going to have to chop your head off again, will I?
But the thing that's nice about the second one is it really establishes Ash as his character that you know today. Bruce Campbell really kind of dialed it in with what that character is, the weird campy comedy goofy dude that he is, that's just covered in blood. And you know, he wouldn't have the chainsaw arm if he didn't have the second one, so it totally sets up Army of Darkness.
Did they have that one in mind when they did the remake?
I mean, they would have had to have had Army of Darkness in mind because they talk about the Deadites and then they throw him through the little vortex thing into the other dimension. The very end of the second one, he is in the medieval times lost in that world. So yeah, they would have had to have Army of Darkness in mind. Out of the three movies though, like what would you say your favorite was? If you had a favorite out of them, which one gave you more enjoyment?
Army of Darkness for sure would be my favorite because one, I'm not big on slasher horror gore movies. Yeah. They're pretty hokey to me. And the stop motion on the skeletons and stuff, again, just brought me back to my childhood of Jason and the Argonauts. And I loved those types of movies when I was a kid. So it just kind of brought me back to that.
Oh, speaking of stop motion, man, the Deadites and all that stuff, like you mentioned, has like a little place in my heart too with all the cool stop motion. But man, in the second one, when his girlfriend's doing like she's dead and has her head chopped off and she's dancing
doing the dance
in the forest, that thing was so terrible.
That's how I felt about all of the movies in a way. Like I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Especially with Evil Dead 2. They just threw so much at it. You have so many different stop motion things happening. You have terrible, like, I think her headless body comes in with the chainsaw and it's just like, looks like terrible. It's like, and all this. And then all of a sudden you got the big old long necked monster. There's so many transformations going on. Ash is getting possessed and not possessed. And
I kind of watched it and I'm like, when is this going to end? Like, I feel like it's just on a loop. He keeps getting like attacked by these demon people, these Deadites. Like he keeps getting possessed and not possessed. And I'm like, all right, where's the ending?
So out of all three of the movies, I want to see like, what's your favorite moment in any of the three? We don't need to go through all three of them. Just any of the
you first.
Okay. I'm going to have to go with my least favorite of the movies, which is the second. I still have to go with the chainsaw hand thing. You know, he cuts his own hand off and then later, you know, straps a chainsaw to it. The reason why it's one of my favorites is because it sets up his character for the future. And how can you not like a chainsaw arm? Like, it's so awesome. So I mean, I think those would have to be my favorite.
Now, I wouldn't want two chainsaw hands because then how are you going to wipe your butt?
Very aggressively, right? I think you're going to create more splatter than you would have before. So just up the walls. Just
yeah, I would definitely recommend a bidet in that situation. So actually, my favorite part is more of a cinematography trick that actually kind of had me guessing for a while. So in the mirror scene, when he's looking at himself and he reaches in, You know,
Yeah.
I had no idea that was a water at first, and I just saw this rippling. I'm like, how did they do that? Like, that is way advanced CGI. And it took me like a split second. I'm like, oh my gosh, they used water. That's brilliant. So I think that was probably my favorite scene of all the movies.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get really crafty when you don't have a budget. And
Yeah.
I think that's what's the cool things about really low budget films is they have to be crafty with it. And you come up with clever ways to accomplish like some really cool effects rather than now just being like, we'll just do it with CGI. It's like you actually had to think and problem solve. And I think that was part of the magic of movies in general. And then, but also just like, magic of a lot of these old school horror movies is because they were so forced into just being creative.
Coming up with creative ways like that, I could just see the 21-year-old him, you know, like, okay, I've got $90,000 that I raised from friends and doctors and lawyers that are entrusting me to make this horror film. How can I make it happen? And I think for $90,000, he did a hell of a job.
I wonder what their investors thought after they saw this movie, though. Were they like,
we want our money back.
What money well spent?
Yeah.
You know, or they're just like, what did we just watch?
How much has the movie made in its lifetime? That's what I want to know. It's probably made a good amount of money.
It's a whole franchise of itself that just keeps going on. You had the remake with Evil Dead there, and then the Evil Dead series, which brought back Bruce Campbell as Ash, which is actually an amazing series. So if you like all of these, like, man, it just gets better. So, and it also has the crazy cheesiness. It does. It's for sure. I binge that thing. Now you got Evil Dead Rise out, and so the franchise just keeps continuing. So that's our little recap of the Evil Dead trilogy, you know, the originals.
Trilogy.
Comment below. Have you seen Evil Dead Rise? And what'd you think? So that's it for this episode. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.